You are kind of there forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're in there forever.
This episode is sponsored by Front-End Masters. Engineers have watched over 2 million hours of Front-End Masters videos to upgrade their skills in the latest best practices in front-end development and Node.js. Popular video courses of theirs include courses on advanced JavaScript, Angular 2, React, API design with Node, and functional and asynchronous JavaScript. Many of their teachers have even been guests on JavaScript Jabber. Check them out at frontendmasters.com. Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 236 of the JavaScript Jabber Show. This week on our panel we have Dave Smith.
Hello.
Aimee Knight.
Hello.
I'm Charles Max Wood from devchat.tv, and this week we have a special guest. That is Jerome Hardaway.
Hey everybody, how you guys doing?
You want to introduce yourself real quick?
Yes, my name is Jerome Hardaway. I am the executive director, or as we like to prefer, head geek of Vetsu Code. Formerly U.S. Air Force, now full stack developer, teaching veterans how to program and getting those amazing jobs that they've earned through service.
Yeah, and I heard you just joined as a regular panelist on some awesome Ruby podcast.
Yes, all right. I didn't know I could cross promote. Yes, I'm now a full-time panelist on Ruby Rogues as well, so that's pretty awesome. I'm pretty excited about that. Especially since Ruby was my first real server-side language, so it's kind of it's almost like a first love type thing, and now I'm talking about it all the time when I'm not reading about it or teaching it, so it's pretty cool.
Awesome.
Nice.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
We did line this up before he joined Ruby Rogues, but yeah. He came on Ruby Rogues. We talked a lot about Vetsu Code. It was awesome, and so he hopped on here, and then I wound up having some openings on that panel.
So I have a question before we go much further. When we say Vetsu Code, because this is near and dear to my heart, we're also talking about spouses, right?
Yes, actually. We talk about spouses and depending on the situation, dependents. We are looking for those people who are part of the military family that have what we like to call the aptitude and impact clause. We're looking for those that can not only do the work and learn, but also those who we can impact. More people who are in early stage transitioning tend to be with the demographic that we really focus on early on, because as you know, with veterans in particular, those who are within their last year before getting out, first 2 years out, that's the vulnerable population, and those guys, they can end up getting all of the horrible things that you hear when it comes to homelessness and joblessness and things of that nature. So I really focused on trying to hit that sweet spot of helping veterans and spouses before they need it. I believe that the nonprofit sector needs to focus more on being proactive than reactive as a whole, because it saves money, and those funds actually help more than waiting for a person to hit rock bottom and then trying to build them all the way up or to what we would predetermine as a successful level. But yes, we handle spouses, in some cases dependents, based upon how many openings we have for a class and what's the current applicant cohorts looking like. I miscounted. I thought we had 113, but we actually had 124 people who applied for our August through right now cohort, and we only had 13 spots, and we try to go no higher than 13. So that's just how in demand our program gets.
I like that you said before you hit rock bottom, because I don't know. I just feel like this is kind of important to my story and something that not a lot of people know. So if you are close to me, I've been going through some rough stuff lately. I'm no longer a military spouse, but one decision that I made really early on when I did become a military spouse is that as I was traveling around, married to someone in the military at the time, I knew how important it was going to be if something ever did happen that I had something to fall back on. And luckily, when everything unfortunately did happen, I was well into this programming career. So not only do I have something to fall back on, but I have something I absolutely love to do that, helps me to support myself as well. So I think that's super important for not just the vets, but spouses too.
Yes, learning how to code is a transformative choice, and it makes it just makes it so much better.
Yeah, one other thing I don't think people really realize, and I'm just going to preface this by stating that when I was a missionary for my church, I spent 7 months serving in a branch of the church for service people in the Air Force at Aviano Air Base in Italy. And I don't think people really understand that, there's this culture around the military, the people who are in the military and their families, and that in a lot of ways the families serve as well as the service people. So,
yes.
The fact that you are willing to, provide this to spouses and dependents, depending on the need and how much availability you have, is really important. And I don't think people realize just the impact that it has when somebody has a family member in the military. One other way that I'll point this out is my wife's grandmother is a military widow. My wife's grandfather died in service in the Air Force. And every time she drove onto base, whether it was out here at Hill Air Force Base up in Layton, Utah, or somewhere else, they saluted and, gave her those honors. And it really is, you're part of the military family if you are part of a military family.
Yes.
Yep. You are kind of there forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're in there forever.
As we get into this, how do you decide who gets in? I mean, I'm assuming that you have so many spots open and you have so many people apply. Do you fill all your spots? Do you have more applicants than you have spots? I mean, how are you doing there, and how does that all work?
Roger that. We always have the pain of having more applicants than we do spots. Like I said, we try to take no more than 13. And we always get, I get cold calls for spots. I get, it's a crazy experience. What we do is when we open the application process is that we do 2 interviews, every veteran. First we have to verify their either whether they're active duty veteran or if they're a spouse. Then we make that call, see if they're honorably discharged, if they're a veteran, see if they're what's their spousal or dependent status among that. And then we see, we basically want to see hear their story and see what they've been doing and why is code something with them. It's really hard to teach people about code, especially, learning how to code is grueling if that's the only thing that you're learning, skill-based, and you're doing it on a certain amount of time. It's a really hard, or not hard, intense process. So we have to make sure that the people that are applying, they're not trying to waste our donors' dollars or our volunteers. Like we have volunteer mentors that come in. We try to give every athlete, every person who volunteers, who comes to our program, a mentor. And that's, we don't want to waste their time. So we focus on trying to figure out, does this person really want to do this? Or is it just a person who's, they've heard about us through like Gary Vee or somebody, or they saw some really, or they just saw us, make some money type thing. But that's what we focus on. And we do a lot of our, so after that, we once again focus on teaching our veterans, we go on the technical side to make sure that they have the aptitude for code. So we go and do some, not so much as code challenges, but some problem-solving drills that have absolutely nothing to do with code. And we look and ask for Github or any type of experiences that they did. We always recommend that prior to talking to us, go ahead and, try to knock out our pre-work and see if this is for you. We have that on our Medium blog, so that, anybody can come in and already have the pre-work done, and that gives them quite a bit of a head start with our process. But that's basically it. We try to, keep it small classes so everybody has the time that they deserve with me or with one of our volunteers, and we focus on, what I like to say, skills pay to bills, and give veterans what they want and what they deserve.
So I have a question. I know that there are a lot of programming boot camps right now that are looking into accepting the GI Bill. I'm actually part of a group called Operation Code, and I know that they've worked with some other schools and boot camps to accept the GI Bill. And actually the boot camp that I went to, the National Software School, they are starting to accept the GI Bill. I actually have a friend who is applying for the January cohort using that. So do you do that? And if not, why would someone go this route rather than potentially these other routes where you can use your GI Bill?
Roger that.
Or maybe you don't have one to use, I guess.
Roger that. First, foremost, negative. We do not focus on the post 9/11 GI Bill because to get the post 9/11 GI Bill, you have to have about 70% of your revenue or your education be focused on people outside of the post 9/11 GI Bill. So we would have to start teaching civilians. A lot of people don't know that about the post 9/11 GI Bill, that the only places they can really accept it are places that are taking both civilians and veterans. And I think one of the things that we would like to argue about those schools that accept the post 9/11, we've been propositioned and asked to partner with schools that are accepting the post 9/11 GI Bill in regards to coding boot camps, that we've turned them down because we take a completely different approach. And I think the veterans that want to choose us, they like our approach because we focus on a really intense quality and not only just relationships and being able to get them into unique positions and networks that other boot camps might not be able to offer, but we also really great, memorable things. There's very few boot camps that will let you have an intimate Slack site chat, AMA, with like a developer from Netflix or the founder of Ruby on Rails. We actually have that slated next week for our veterans. Or going through something as, we've just been invited to Dreamforce, and we would like to take you with us to Dreamforce so we can do company tours at all of these really cool tech companies in San Francisco. There's very few for-profit code schools that do that. And that's something that we do. The experience that we have within our Slack channel, like I said, we are very intense when it comes to the idea of quality. We just don't teach. We give you an experience that you can't get if it's as I like to call it, a butts and seats, trying to get them in and get them out and start the next cohort as fast and smoothly as possible. We only focus, we like to call it front sight focus, only on that team that's in there. And that's why we get the type of partnerships and the type of relationships that we get, is because we do something different a lot of boot camps don't do. We focus on CS fundamentals, which most boot camps, they focus on teaching you how to code. They don't teach you things like big O notation and more advanced data modeling concepts, things of that nature. And that's something that we have baked into our product, as well as a whole month dedicated to technical interviewing. Very few schools have that, just an entire month set aside just to master the technical interview, let alone giving you tools that you can have up to a year to prep for experiences like that. We give them pragmatic studios, Pluralsight, and Interview Cake, and that's all free to our veterans. And then we're also trying to add more tools and resources that we get from other partners, free to our qualifying troops as we go on. But I think that's what really sets us apart, is even though we are remote, you end up feeling like, you don't feel like a community, you feel like family. And that's what we do best. I think that's what we do the best. So, and not to mention we have 100% success rate when it comes to helping veterans, because we focus so much on that quality and not that just quantity, and trying to build this really big, hard to contain community and everybody trying to work together. We have our own style guide. We do a lot of things we focus on professional web development, which is, depending on where you go, may or may not always be that solution.
Let's pause for a moment to talk about our sponsor, Taurus. Taurus is a new tool for managing and securing the secret information that allows your app to run. You know the stuff: passwords, API keys, database credentials, all the stuff that gives access to the private stuff that you don't want anybody to touch except for your application in specific ways. Taurus provides a convenient way to store all this information in the cloud, and they can't access it because it's encrypted with material derived from your password, which is never transmitted to their server. So it's secured from them, from everybody else, but accessible to you. This means only the servers, development machines, and applications you've allowed can access the information. So make secrets management headaches a thing of the past and check out Taurus today. You can find them at devchat.tv/Taurus. That's devchat.tv/TORUS. So one thing that if I remember right, with my time in the military, there was a lot of jargon that people would throw around. TDYs and there were a whole bunch of TLAs, 3-letter acronyms. I mean, it was just funny. They
don't forget about the ETLAs, the extended 3-letter acronyms.
Oh, right. But
we're guilty of that.
Military people really have their own language in a lot of ways, and I'm wondering, how does that play in the way that you communicate, the way that you teach and talk and bring people into your community? How important is that common language among veterans, kind of the same way we have among programmers?
I think for us, it's been one of our strongest points. I think we spoke about that some time ago, and like the idea of coming in and being able to correlate software terminology or just how to do certain things and like translate it in a way that a veteran or like someone who was in infantry could understand, or anybody who's been on at least one deployment can understand. That really helps us. I think I told you, like, we usually is really smooth sailing until we get like a coastie or a spouse of a coastie in our cohort, and then those guys don't usually do a lot of deploying outside of the country. Their deployments are to Alaska and stuff, or Puerto Rico. So everybody else is like, they understand what we say, but those guys like, what are you guys talking about? And we're like, someone explain it to the FNG over there. So, but that's for us, it's just I think gives us a really great advantage. Not only, like I said, we're acronym crazy in Vetsuit code. I think we spoke about that. We talk about, we use HAWCs, which is HAWC, which is health and wellness checks, which we do about once a week now. We use AARs, which is after action reviews, another term that we have from the military that we do after every session. There's just so many acronyms. I'm probably skipping a few, but that's this military jargon is like military connection helps us get our message and get our education and instruction through to the veteran a lot more clearly. So it helps us.
That's really cool.
One thing that I'm also curious about is I know that there are people who have gone through PTSD and maybe they've lost limbs or lost lost comrades or things like that, where people have gone through really hard stuff. Does that affect your teaching style at all, or do you generally wait for people to get that kind of help somewhere else and then come into the program?
Negative. I'm a veteran. I think I might not have shared this, but I deployed multiple times. I'm in a combat career field, security forces, transitioning in a Phoenix Raven program. I suffered from PTSD when I first exited, more strongly than I do so now. So having that philosophy of how to learn how to code while suffering from PTSD or any type of anxiety-based disorder, we already bake that into our curriculum, because I'm very wary of that, and I'm also very wary of the fact that people may not want to share their post-traumatic stress, because not everyone's post-traumatic stress is the same. Some people get theirs from sexual assault, some from actual combat, I've seen people who have gotten them from training exercises that went horribly wrong. So trying to give people their safe space while I focus on giving them the skills that can help them get jobs. That's really our main focus. So I think about that concept of the social aspect of learning how to code in regards to post-traumatic stress or anxiety disorders, or feeling of incompetence just because you don't come from like a technical job or MOS or AFSC, whichever language you're using for your job title or job code. I've seen it all when it comes to teaching how to code and learning how to code, and it really helps me become a better instructor and better teacher for our veterans.
So I have a question. I know personally that this is not necessarily true, but the military is not exactly, this type of military. We're not talking about like the NSA and stuff. We're just talking about, boots on the ground or active duty, that kind of thing, is not typically known for, the most up-to-date technical skills wise or the most up-to-date technology. If you go on base, the technology used is pretty old.
The military sells to the lowest bidder, right?
Yes. So how does that affect, how you're teaching people, and how does that affect kind of like the stigma potentially tied to some of the veterans when they go out and look for jobs?
Roger that. What helps with the teaching, in regards to the teaching and that concept of the way the military's technology stack is really low bar, or not the highest bar. If you think of like going to New York or San Francisco's tech bar, we usually fix that within the crawl phase, especially when they start doing more front end work. Well, we really we see huge leaps and bounds in regards to, just because of why we focus on, we call it crawl, walk, run, and we try to alleviate all of those problems in the crawl phase when it comes to, this is the technology stack, this is how they think about technology in the military, this is how the real world thinks about technology. And I know it's going to be a shocker for some of you, and we're okay with that. So that's our biggest thing in class or in session, is during crawl phase, go ahead and get them into the, as I like to say, the 21st century. I know that most military bases are still using technologies that were hot during the first Gulf War, which is kind of scary when you think of it. But that's where we really focus on getting them from that 2004 field to maybe up to 2016 way of doing things. In regards to jobs, I believe that comes from what we focus on, our stack, how we teach, and how we allow our veterans to get that message across for job hunting. We focus on, a full month on interview skills, and that comes involved with their portfolio and their capstone project. We focus on our main stack, we like to call it the WC stack, is Angular, Postgres, and Rails. And we're focusing on teaching them how to connect, how to use Bower to connect Angular and Rails together and do a lot of those more fluid tooling things. So I think that actually helps when it comes to their GitHubs and their portfolios, and we teach them how to use AWS and Heroku as well. That when the employer sees that, it really shakes them, and like, oh, you know what, this is a great idea. That's actually the interview is actually one, I feel like, our biggest strength, because that's how we made Vetsu Code. A lot of the resources and networks that we have now came from me literally physically going out there, interviewing with companies, getting the job, turning the job down, and pitching their director of developments or their hiring managers about what I do. This is the last, I think, 6 months has been the first time, since we've started it, I don't have to really go in there and perform, and then now that my skill set, turn around, now let's talk about Vetsu Code. Now, I just got off the phone with some people at ESPN who I didn't have to do that with. It's really shocking to be in this type of environment. I don't have to do a code challenge or anything first. We don't have to do 3 interviews. So we really help. I think that really helps us, is that, the technical interview is what Vetsu Code was built around, first and foremost. That's how we got our name out there, was going out there, doing this and kicking butt at the interviews and turning the jobs down. That's how actually, like, people like Gary Vee, that's how he heard about us, was technical interview, and deciding, you know what, I'm not going to do this, but I can help you find a bunch of people who can do this, and I can help, and I can teach these people. We actually have a person who's a big supporter of Etsuko now, who we just helped her get a job at VaynerMedia. I think she just started last week, as a matter of fact. So it's really cool that we're able to build these relationships based upon, like, our hard work and interviewing and doing what we like to say skills pay the bills, and then turning around and being able to make that transition for other people significantly easier when it comes out to, like, helping people get jobs.
So you think that people's military background is actually an asset, not necessarily a detriment when people are going to look for jobs? Because I do feel like, unfortunately, sometimes it can be a detriment.
I feel like it's a detriment if anything can be a positive if you allow it to be. I don't feel like it's a detriment for our veterans, because, like, what I tell people, what is military? Problem solving. And essentially, when you're going overseas, when you're in deployment, you're solving problems the entire time. So you might not have all the tools to, like, optimally solve the problem, but that problem still has to be solved. Not only when you think about documentation, every military veteran out there has had to read some type of boring SOPs, or had to go through death by PowerPoint or something. So telling somebody to read the Rails guides or the Ruby doc, that's absolutely nothing to them. Like, okay, well, at least I'll be able to do something on a computer, and no one's yelling at me about this. So, that's where we come from, the creativity that comes with problem solving, learning, how to solve problems, how to solve so many problems with 550 chord correlates really well into the how to learn how to solve problems using JavaScript or Ruby. If those that don't know, like, most veterans have, like, at least one deployment underneath their belt. They can do pretty much anything with 550 chord and duct tape. Like, I've seen some people that, and I've seen some MRE wizards. Like, I don't know if you guys know about MREs, but they're essentially gross freeze-dried meals. But I've seen some chefs, like, you want a problem solver? Like, a guy that can make MREs taste amazing regardless of what's in that bag is, like, that's a problem solver. So, and that's what we bring when we find these veterans, and when we bring them to employers, or most of our veterans, they don't even, we teach them how to integrate into their developer society using meetups and things of that nature. And they're able to get jobs on their own just from what they showcase at meetups and when they're on their own interviews. And that's what we're really about. Like, we don't, even when we do partnerships, we don't accept money from the hiring managers that want to partner with us. We just focus on helping veterans. Like, for me, every veteran that gets a job is a W. And I'm trying to keep my goose egg, as they say.
So somebody once told me this, and I think it's definitely true. So typically in the military, you could say you have the best of the best, and unfortunately sometimes the worst of the worst. But the best of the best, in my experience, the drive that the best of the best have is, like, unparalleled.
Yes, I can definitely agree on that. You have to find that. Once you find that talent, and then turn around and focus on cultivating it, giving it the quality instruction that it needs, you'll be amazed in what you see. And that's one of the things that we try to talk to other employers about, like, the opportunity of teaching veterans, like giving veterans the opportunity and the mentorship, because we've really gotten away from this as a society in which you used to invest in people versus what was on their resume. But as we've gotten more data focused and we're trying to minimize spend in regards of using computers that are using technologies that focus on what's written on their resume and looking for keywords, things of that nature. When we're no longer focusing on that person, we're just looking for a person that can do the job to the point where we won't lose money. And I totally understand that, but that's one of the things that we focus on with our veterans, to try to keep them up to speed, up to shore for their skill set, because that actually hurts veterans, because veterans don't have that advantage of having the average veteran that's been a first-term airman or first-term veteran, they've been in the military 4 to 6 years, while their civilian counterparts have been out building their network for 4 to 6 years. So that's one of the things that we are always thinking about. Like, we're thinking about the technologies that the companies are using to screen resumes. We're thinking about relationships with tech recruiters. We're thinking about our relationships with hiring managers. We look at it from it's a really unique concept of how we look at it in regards to focusing outward, almost like we are a counter talent agency, because we're trying to dissect all of these tech agencies that are always trying to recruit and look for talent, while also try to build that talent that they're looking for. It's a really weird, very unique concept that we have.
So what's in the future for Vets Who Code?
Oh, man. Well, what's currently in the future is in 3 weeks, I have to go back to San Francisco. I've been invited to Facebook as a guest of honor to speak about Vets Who Code. So that's crazy. Last week was crazy, too. We were invited to Dreamforce. And while there, we took one of our veterans with us. And after I did my Dreamforce obligations, I had opportunity to give this veteran a bunch of tours at various companies. We visited Facebook, Twitter, the Instagram leg of Facebook, which Facebook, for the record, you've never gone. Facebook is like Willy Wonka and a Chocolate Factory, but like not the current, like the Johnny Depp one, but like the Gene Wilder one. Like, it's insane. They have restaurants and coffee shops everywhere. Like, you can't go, like, I was doing my pace count in there, and I couldn't get past like 60 before we ran into another cafe. I was like, this is crazy. You guys have like every 60 steps there's a place for coffee? Who does that? Like, it was just most mind-blowing opportunity ever. We're focusing like a lot of our fundraising all the way through Giving Tuesday. And then we're going to take a small break for the holidays, get our troops graded and get them some jobs. And then get back on the road in March. Try to take a little bit of a break so I can have my wife not be furious with me for all the time I spend working with vets, and get back into the job of teaching veterans how to code.
So one other question that I'm wondering about is this a program for people who can't afford to go through another system, or do people have to pay? Or if people can't pay, do they go somewhere else, or do they come here? What's the deal?
We only accept those who cannot fiscally afford to go to a code school, because the way, as a nonprofit, we focus on not only aptitude, but we focus on impact as well. And if you already have the means to go to one of the schools that I really like General Assembly's model. But so if you have the means to go to those type of schools and things of that nature, I wouldn't recommend you to go to ours, because I don't want you to try to apply for ours, because I don't want you to take a spot away from a veteran that may need it more. So that's what we look for. We look for veterans, we look for spouses, we look for dependents that actually they have that aptitude, they have that drive, but they may not have it in regards to, they may not have a job that they can afford to do a for-profit code school, or maybe they think they could have a chance of getting a scholarship, but they're not, for instance, let's say you're in Mobile, Alabama, and you're looking at General Assembly, but when you go up to General Assembly in any other locations, that cost of living is significantly higher than being in Mobile. So we're looking for veterans like that who, you know what, we might be able to get they think they might be able to get the handle that tuition, but they're not thinking of that soft skill, that not soft skill, but those soft costs, like the housing, food, transportation, things of that nature, that, over the course of 3 months, they really add up. If you think about, I'm originally from Memphis, and Nashville, which is 3 hours away, is $5,000 per person more expensive. Between Memphis and New York is 3 times that much. And Memphis and San Francisco, it's ridiculous. We were no, we're not even moving to San Francisco. I'll travel to San Francisco, but I have to become Elon Musk before I move to San Francisco. So that's like what we try to focus on. It's 100% free to those veterans that we get in their program. All our tools, all our time is free for them, and that's what we were focusing on, because I know that there are some really talented ladies and gents out there that they just need the opportunity to get to the next level. So that's what we focus on.
All right, let's take a break and earn a little money for the show by talking about Hired.com. Hired is the world's most intelligent talent matching platform for full-time and contract opportunities in engineering, development, design, product management, data science, sales, and marketing. They put you in control, fill out an application, and then top employers apply to hire you. Throughout the process, your dedicated talent advocate will also have your back, providing unbiased career coaching to help you put your best foot forward with potential employers. And Hired offers access to more than 4,000 innovative employers, including big brand names like Facebook and smaller emerging startups. The size and type of company you want to connect with is totally up to you. And they help people find new opportunities in 17 major cities in North America, Europe, Asia, and Australia. So if you're open to relocation, you can let them know, and they'll work that in too. Finally, if you use our link, you can earn double the normal hiring bonus. The normal hiring bonus is $1,000, and they give you $2,000 instead. So go check them out at hired.com/JavaScriptJabber. Trying to think of what else we could ask. One thing that kind of came up that we talked about a little bit was whether or not there was a stigma around veterans. And I'm curious, is it easier or harder for veterans to get hired? Do you find that it varies by company, or?
I think when we first started, it was a lot harder, because it was like 2014. Everybody learned how to code was just getting started when we happened to be getting started. And I actually remember I tried to initially start a program about getting veterans in technology in my hometown around 2011 while I was in the nonprofit scene, and people were like, we're not really sure about that. They didn't know. It was kind of, it was unheard of, because the whole everybody learned how to code movement hadn't really jumped off the rails like how it is now. But after our White House invitation, it became significantly easier. When people saw the tools and resources that we were using and being able to pull, that really helped, because these are trusted resources and tools that were already in the community that people already trusted. So they were already, okay, that helps us. That helps ease their mind. These people are working with them. These people are working with them. So it made it significantly easier for us. And as well as just being able to go in, I think, like I said, most of the time when we were doing that, working with other companies, me going in and interviewing already, when I would get a recommendation for a job for our veterans, they had already did all the legwork by the time one of our vets came in. So it was really amazing process of how just being able to focus on that skill set, that skill set based education or approach really helped us. That's pretty much it for that. It's gotten a lot easier as the time has gone on. We still focus on keeping those numbers low, because we want to ensure, a quality product. We don't want to, it's not about having 10,000 people in our community. It's about having 10 people that can go out there and get jobs. So that's what we focus on.
So you've probably had quite a few people now come through the program. You've been doing it for how long?
Since 2014, we currently have another person that just got a job a couple weeks ago. But we've had 80. I'm not going to count him to it just yet until we get a few more. So far, 80 veterans in 14 states have all gotten jobs. We've got 100% success rate so far.
That's great. Well, congratulations for that. As you look back over all the people that you've helped through this program, are there any stories of people that stand out to you?
Yes. One that stands out is one Ty Allen. He decided he enjoys freelancing, but one of the things that was always hurting him when it came to freelance positions and getting jobs, projects, contracts, was the fact that he did not know HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And he had recently gone through, he just had an audition to his family. And he came to us because he had a design degree. And what was hurting him getting projects was that he didn't know how to code. And when he tried to go back to his school, he went to a for-profit college. And he just realized that his for-profit college just, is one of those in the Department of Education had decided that they were not meeting their standards. And they discontinued it. So could you imagine the horror of having a degree that just disappears one day? So we've been focusing on working on him, particularly in LampStack, to help him transition and get up those skills. And he's right now successfully using that to make more money than he was doing in the software, the just graphic design industry by itself, which really helps us, that especially when you think of that concept of this person, he came in and he did not want to get to the point of going to a full, job type field. He wanted to stay freelance, and now he's freelance, and he's getting paid money to do what he wants to do it his way. So that, to me, that's really cool. We also have a veteran that about a year ago, his name is Adrian, and he came through our program and our coursework, and he now works at Marvel in New York as a front-end web developer. He came through, and he was just a person that needed, he had the aptitude, he just needed an extra push. Now he works at Marvel, and we really enjoy stories like that. We try not to put our veterans out there as much because we really like to focus on the product of what we do to be the story, as opposed to when I used to work in nonprofits, they always used to use the veterans as look at what we're doing for veterans, look at what we did for this veteran. And it was I really didn't like that. I think maybe it was just my point of view as a veteran coming through. I really despised that, and I felt and I found out a lot of the veterans weren't comfortable with that either. So we really focus on trying to make sure that our mission statement, what we do, how we do it, our methods are more of that story and about the product versus using the stories of the veterans, because we don't want them to feel like they're being exploited. And that's honestly what some of the veterans have said, that, when nonprofits ask us for our stories and stuff like that, we kind of feel exploited. So me trying to always respect that, that's why we try to focus more on the product of what we do.
Well, I have to say that, I have family that have been in the military. I have a lot of friends that have been in the military. And this is just a really cool project that's helping people that, you get paid when you're in the military, but it's a sacrifice. And, I think we all appreciate that and recognize that. I'm sure that that you could use some help here or there, be it money or connections or other things. What are the best ways for people to really make a contribution, either with time or money, to Vets Who Code?
Roger that. If you are looking to mentor, please contact us at hello@vetswhocode.io. We're always looking for high-level mentors, or just go through our form and say that that's what you want to do. We'll definitely be in contact with you within 72 hours. I have a bunch of emails I have to answer currently this week because of that now. If you want to donate, we have 2 different ways of donating now. We use new technology that's actually based out of Nashville for our donor management system called Kindful, to make it much easier for our...
Kindful is awesome.
Kindful is awesome.
That's my mentor in my boot camp. He's the CTO there.
What's his name?
Pete Brown.
Pete, see, I know there's CEO. I don't know the CTO.
Yep, I just had to plug that, so...
Okay.
Carry on. Sorry for the interruption.
No problem. We use Kindful. Those non-shameless plug there. So it's easier for you to donate, regardless if you use PayPal or Stripe, or you just want to put your own information in there. You can go from there and do it. And we also, for companies that are looking at donating and have some fun, we use what's called SwearJar for your Slacks. So you can put our Slack bot in your company Slack, and then you can set it so that based upon how many people are swearing or what type of gifts they're sending, you can send a small donation, and you can have monthly settings and things of that nature to us. Yeah, it's really fun. We set up a SwearJar. I think we felt like there's a great company, NYC.
Capital.
See, if you put a SwearJar in some of the Slack channels I was in, I would be trying to get other people to swear so that they would give you money.
Yes, and that's we've seen that, and like companies can put some companies have some potty mouths or like some people that are crazy giffers, and you can put like a balance limit on how much you're going to give monthly. Based upon it in your Slack channel as well. So we give the companies control of how much they're going to give like their maximum amount things. Because, we have some people that they would honestly, if you just did it just by their swears, they'd, run their company out of business. So that's one other way. And just continue talking about us and sharing about the work that we do. That's what we really what we really love to talk about to people about. Especially if you're a hiring manager, please email me at jerome@vetsuco.io, and we'll definitely set up time to talk and see if we have someone that your company will be a great fit for your company.
Sounds good. Well, let's go ahead and end on that note and get to some picks. Dave, do you have some picks for us?
Yes, I only have one pick, and it is utterly self-serving. And that is that, for those of you that don't know, we have a somewhat new podcast that it's called Soft Skills Engineering, where we explore the non-technical side of software development. We've done 30 episodes, and they've all been absolute gems. Just kidding. Some of them are really good.
No, they're good.
And all right, endorsed. Yep. And we just procured our first sponsor, so now we are a real podcast wearing big kid shoes. So check us out at Soft Skills ENG on Twitter.
Awesome. Aimee, what are your picks?
Okay, so I have two. The first one, I mentioned a while back, the Grokking Algorithms book, which is really, really good, and I've been working through that. But sometimes I want a little supplement to that, and I've picked a bunch of these on the podcast before, but there is a GitHub awesome repo called Awesome Algorithms. So whether you're working through that Grokking Algorithms book or not, there's just some good resources for that I found this weekend. And then the other one I have, I am neither for or against this blog post, but it's an interesting contrast to a lot that goes on in the JavaScript world by somebody who's pretty well respected, I guess Uncle Bob Martin. He has a blog post that came out at the end of July called The Churn. So it's a very short read, but I probably wouldn't necessarily have given this a read given the title, or just because I don't know. I'm kind of tired of like the debate back and forth, but because it's somebody who's so well respected, I felt it was worth the read. So pretty short. I'll put links for both those in the show notes, and that's it for me.
All right, I'm going to throw a quick pick out there. I've been reading this book, and I liked it so much that when I finished the audiobook, I actually stopped, closed the book, and then reopened it and started playing it again. It's called The 12-Week Year, and it's basically a productivity model for setting goals over 12 weeks and then getting them achieved. And it ties into your overall mission and where you want to go, and it is awesome. Really, really loved it. So I'm going to pick The 12-Week Year. It's a book, like I said. It's by Brian P. Moran, and I don't remember his co-author's name. But we'll put a link to it in the show notes. And that's my pick. Jerome, do you have some picks for us?
Roger that. Of course, first pick is going to be Vetsu Code. Please go visit our site. Send us a message or donate, whatever, or send me an email. See what you want to, whichever way you want to contribute to our cause of helping more veterans. Second pick is definitely going to be one of my favorite gems. It comes with like a crazy story. Practical JavaScript by watchingcode.com. That is a really, really great site for people who are coming from a more atypical background of learning how to code. Very crazy story. This guy, Gordon Zhu, he went to school in Pennsylvania, and while he was in Philly and doing his college degree, he did a lot of tutoring in inner city schools. So he ended up learning how to teach people who may not have came from that really prolific background how to do a lot of high-level math. And he, after graduating, went west, San Francisco, while started working as a marketer at Google, and then turned around and became a developer at Google. And one of the things that he really didn't understand was how the way people were teaching people how to code, or all the coding resources when it came to JavaScript. He felt like they were really bad, poorly written when it came to like people who didn't come from that traditional CS background. So he started this project to become a full-blown site for him. And it's a really great product. He actually pitched it to me after hearing me on a podcast some time ago, and I didn't have time for it until we had a veteran who was who was having problems with JavaScript. Then I made time for it, and it turned out to be wonderful. Veteran finally started learning, it just started clicking with him. So I set up a call with this guy, and I let him speak to the veteran that he had actually helped. And then I met him in real life when I was in San Francisco. So it was really, really cool type of way of how we interact with not only the products that people share with us, but the people who are building these products and how we use them to help veterans. So I think that's like my second, outside of us, Practical JavaScript would be my second pick.
All right. Well, besides Vets Who Code, is there any other place that people should go if they want to see what you're doing or check out your open source or anything like that?
Roger that. Check us out on Twitter, and we do a lot of stuff on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We're actually doing a really big debate right now about open source in our curriculum. It's basically a 60-40 split right now, so we're looking into that to take it to the next level and try to open source our curriculum in hopes that other people will be able to learn more about code.
All right. Well, thank you for coming, Jerome. I'll remind everybody to go check him out on Ruby Rogues, and we'll catch you all next week.
Roger that. You guys have a great day.